Hello and welcome back to E03 Games. So I wanted to talk to you about the progression within this game, in this little series that I'm doing, and I want to talk about wood processing. We use wood for tons of things, from building buildings, various vehicles and contraptions. When you start out in Scrap Mechanics Survival, you pretty much just have your hammer, and that hammer can be used to get wood out of trees by felling them. They break into smaller pieces like this. We hit that piece a bit and then it becomes a bit of a log. As long as you have enough room, you can then process that and into, something usable. Let me throw something on the ground here so I can show you that. So you use your little refine tool. And there we can see the lower right. I've got some scrap wood from that. So this process is very manual. There's a lot of swinging the hammer to break the logs up into smaller pieces, and then using the refine tool on the remaining sticks. And this is how you start out, and it's really actually not bad. It's pretty efficient for early game because you're getting 10 pieces of wood each time you use that refine tool. But there are faster ways, and you are limited to only certain types of trees. You always get scrap wood. You can never get higher grades of wood out of just this part of the process. You can take these pieces of scrap wood and stick them in your crafting bot and refine them there, but you can't get any directly from the trees that you knock down in, wood block 1 or whatnot. It's always going to be scrap. So there is a way to be more efficient. Grab a little bite to eat here because we're hungry and thirsty. There we are. So you can see roughly how long it takes to process an entire tree of, we'll call it average size. And this is the last one. So some of these trees cannot be processed, by the way, like these bushes, and some, like this redwood-like tree, is too big for the sledgehammer to process. So we eventually realized that we need some heavier equipment to deal with the larger trees. And that can be also made more efficient through the use of vehicles or other contraptions. Over here, hello Mrs. Cow, I've got a vehicle that I have built. The cage on the front, these little doors on the front open, and the cage is meant to surround that tree. And then you can see a blade underneath there that slides out, fills the bottom, and spins. An odd aspect of this game is that as long as the tree or log is colliding with the saw blade, then it functions. So it doesn't actually need to be up on the teeth. So we can kind of cheese that a little bit, if you will, and just fill the bottom of this cage with that saw blade and let the tree fall on it. And this is a gatherer here. I believe that's what they're called, at least. And what it does is anytime one of those final log shapes is made, it kind of vacuums them up all around the vehicle in this area. So while the saw blade is cutting, it will vacuum them in. This is a refiner, and the refiner will take those out of the little catcher there and process them, and it is connected to this chest at the end and will produce various types of wood for us. The way this works, you can see there the front of it opens, and then you can probably see the saw blade coming out there. Saw blade is connected to a separate motor on the vehicle, and then what we do is we drive it up and surround a tree. So we're going to give this one a shot. It is awfully close to the water here, so hopefully we don't end up getting pulled in. Sometimes these trees are just so heavy, and they're so top heavy that they can pull the vehicle over on its side or forward down. This was my first attempt at a dedicated tree processing unit. You can see there the doors close, kind of hugs the tree, pulls the vehicle in. Now I'll turn the saw blade on, and it'll start doing its work. And there it goes. That little jump is always the scary part. And you can see now the processing that's happening. I'm just backing up to get away from the edge of the water because that's not a particular place I want to be. And there we are. We can see that it's pulling the tree down in. And the large limbs will kind of just fall off. They animate to fall off as you chop the lower part of the tree apart. And the rest is automated. We just kind of hang out and wait for it to finish. Occasionally moving the vehicle forward or back just to wiggle it a bit sometimes will help if the tree gets stuck on the sides of its little cage or whatnot. The branches don't actually collide. You'll probably see it'll pass through. Yeah, and then they just kind of disappear at some point. Remember, this particular tree is one that you can't even break with your hammer. All that stuff on the ground is corn that I ran over, by the way. And then if there's any leftover logs that, you know, we missed or while we were backing up, we can try and catch with our saw blade. You can see there one of them was chopped and grabbed. And it'll get vacuumed up as soon as there's room. If you look, the little catcher there is completely full of wood, so we have to wait sometimes for it to be free. Those trees contain a very large amount of wood, and there we go. We've cleaned it all up, and now it's going to continue processing while we drive even. So now we can move on to our next tree or go back to base, whatever that may be, while it's processing. And that is quite a bit more efficient than just using your hammer. And also the type of wood that we get out of this process and processing those large trees, you often get the next level of refined wood. Wood block 1, I believe it's called. And that's beyond scrap wood. You do get some scrap too. And you can do this with any tree, not just the big ones. You can grab little trees and whatever you want to clear out. But it will process for a while just automatically. You can even park the vehicle and go do something else, and it'll just keep processing those logs. And it'll keep throwing them in here. You can see there, that one just went up. So you get some scrap wood and you get some of the wood block ones. I don't think that it is something you should rush towards building one of these, but I will say that it's a tough toss-up between this and a rock crusher vehicle dedicated for mining metal and stone as your first vehicle that you want to build past the little scrap car that you start with. I went with the stone vehicle first. Don't know if I'd do it differently, and I don't think it made a big difference. Once I was able to process metal from the stone crusher that much faster, it made it so I could make a lot of components and parts faster, including this refinery. So it's kind of a trade-off either way. And quite frankly, the tree harvester was easier to make and it works better than the current stone crusher that I'm using. But you know, one of them I would definitely move towards soon. You don't even need suspension on these things. You can see I don't even have any suspension on it. They're heavy enough that they don't really need it, and you're driving slow when you're maneuvering generally, at least for the tree harvester. This stone crusher is a little bit of a different discussion because you're always dealing with the hill that the stone is on. But for the wood crushing, or wood processing, this works really well. You can see it's just about done. Now, if we had tried to do all that by hand, probably would have taken longer. And this time that I was just rambling on, we could be off doing something else more productive. And that's what a lot of it is about, is making sure that you're making good use of your time in this game for survival. So that's what I wanted to show you. Thanks for watching.